Greetings everyone, welcome back to Daily Kerbal. We're going to be continuing our career mode, and today, if I remember correctly, which I believe I do, the docket includes ferrying two VIPs safely on a suborbital. Both of these very important people they both wanted to go on a suborbital space flight. Well, that I can definitely oblige. In between episodes, I did go to the Science Center and I made the cautious decision to purchase the basic science technology on the tree. Pretty much due to the fact that this is what's going to get us our first battery pack, which we're going to need out there in space after a while. Solar panels are the next step, obviously. And then we also have stuff for science experiments. We got another... One of the most, the largest science-yielding tool. It's a sort of a mobile laboratory that you carry out with you into space to perform experiments, and it gets you a lot of XP. Now, a lot of science points. I've already put the thing out onto the launch pad. I cheesed the science a little bit by getting us what we could from there, and I intend to haul this thing out into orbit with us again. How? Well, now that we can perform EVAs in space, things are going to get a little easier for us. What I want to do, I don't want to necessarily, all we need to do is establish a suborbital spaceflight, right? So my thinking right now is, because our goal potentially is to get to the moon, I want to acquire all the parts necessary before I decide to start constructing spacecrafts with the goal of exploring it, right? All we have to do to begin with is just fly by the moon, right? We need to do a flyby, which is pretty easy. But I want to do it properly. I want us to I want to experiment to sort of get a feel for the amount of fuel and weight that is optimal to get us out to the moon. I don't want to use the smaller parts. I want to use, let me show you. I want to have pods that are basically Rocco Max size. That is one size larger than the fuel tanks that we're using right now. That will require several things. First of all, I want to get this command pod. I want to get the Mark 1, Mark 1-2 command pod. This is the Mark 2 command pod. That's what we're going to call it. This is it's a 3-person pod. So we can carry more people with us in a single one instead of having to, use this command pod and put a crew cabin on there as well. It seems excessive. It's much easier to just get that one. And then, of course, once we get a command pod that size, we're going to need fuel tanks that size and engines that size. So that means we have 3 technologies that I want to unlock, all of them costing 90 research points. That's a pretty hefty sum, but and this one in fact costing more than that. But I think we can do it. What I'm looking for right now is that's the Mark II lander can. Where is the Mark I lander can? Where do we get that one? Here it is. It's an advanced flight control. We might not be able to get enough science from Kerbin itself, by the way, to do this, so I might end up having to scrap this entire idea and just going for the small size spacecraft to get us out to the moon first. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. See how much science we can get from Kerbin. I have some ideas as to how we can do this first. So without any further ado, let's get to constructing our vehicle. This was what I put onto the launch pad, by the way, to get the science from the launch pad. It's a Stay Putnik. That's the first drone core that we unlock. Anyway, we're gonna put one of these, right? This is our bread and butter. And then underneath in utility, we will find the Mark I crew cabin. So this means that we can carry a total of 3 Kerbals with us on our flight. Now, safety first. We want parachutes, but I don't think that a single parachute is going to be enough to slow down all of this craft. Plus, I have plans for more, so I'm going to place 2 of these radial-mounted parachutes on that. That should be enough, because not only are we bringing these back, but I also want to take a science pod with us. Okay. I am worried about this. I am worried about this because I worry that the weight might be too much, that this may end up burning too quickly into the atmosphere, and it may, we may not be able to slow down in time to save the crew. But I need that science pad to make it back to Earth, for reasons that will become clear as we proceed. So heat shield on the bottom. Also debating whether we want these radiator panels on it. I don't know if the radiator panels are actually good for protecting it through the re-entry burn. But you know what, just in case. Actually, I can't risk it just because we don't have... Remember, we have to be careful with the amount of parts that we take with us. So, as far as science is concerned, we can skim some parts there. All we really need right now is a... we don't need two, we need one canister, because we already have the reading from space. We just need it from wherever it is that we're going to land. And then the same thing goes for the barometer and the thermometer. We only need one of these now. So we saved a few parts there. Next. Not that one, that's too big. There we go. We're going to need some more stages on this. Right now, in order to fly that part of the ship, we're going to put a large-sized fuel tank and a Terrier. That should be enough. We don't have extra reaction wheels to unlock just yet, so we'll wait on that for now. And then the next stage is going to be the one that's going to do most of the flying, and that's going to be another couple of liquid fuel engines, maybe even two of these. Keep an eye on the parts that we still have left. And then we put a Reliant engine on the bottom of this. Alright. Then, our usual, we're going to want some solid fuel boosters for the initial launch. I think that 3 might have been needlessly strong. So perhaps if we just use 2 Hammer solid fuel boosters. I don't think we need a thumper. We might need to put thumpers on larger, heavier spacecraft in the future, but for now this is enough. Let's make sure that the aerodynamics are good. And I wish I had winglets with less sensitive control surfaces. So I guess we're just going to have to use this for now. There we go. And we still have parts. We still have 3 parts that we can use. One of those I think is going to be an antenna. Again, I gotta discipline myself is to never forget communication. I've done that in the past. I've forgotten to put communication on my ship and it sucked. So let's not do that. Let's have the antenna on. And what else? Well, first of all, now that I think about it, we probably don't want that to be on the door. There, that's better. 3 parachutes I'm hoping is going to be enough to slow all that down. And since we have 2 more parts left, I'm going to use those for extra fuel. I'm going to put a medium-sized fuel canister here, just because I don't want it to get too heavy. And the last part I'm going to do, again, just for the re-entry safety, I don't really know how good these radiator panels are. They're even good at all, but I'm going to put one there to protect us against the heat when we re-enter. I hope it works. I hope that's what it does, right? It vents, dissipate heat into space, yeah. Although, the descriptions for these are strikingly different. Hang on a second, this thing has ejection force? Give me a second here. Heat shield, shroud, enabled. Force percent. This thing can decouple? Do I not actually have to have a decoupler underneath the heat shield? That's interesting. It has a separator with ejection force. I really don't know what that means, but you know what? Right now, I'm not exactly in the mood for experimenting. Let's just get these tourists out into their destinations. So yeah, Jebediah is going to be our pilot for today, and then we're going to take Kalber and Sharuki Kerman in the pod. And then what are we going to call this? This is going to be we continuing along with the For now, we're going to keep this the Moho class of spacecraft. I believe we're at Moho 5 by now, right? And then this is to gather science from Kerbin and also Kerbin's capital, and also tourists. There we go. All right. We've hit the maximum parts, so I guess this is as far as this is the vessel. This is what we're taking. Let's check our staging. That is good. That is also good. The engine can fire off simultaneously as the ejectors. That is good. That is also good. Then that and the parachutes. All right. We only want to do suborbital space flights, and here's my plan, right? Here's what I want to do. What I want to do is I want to sort of fly us into the direction of a biome that we have not yet explored. In this case, I want to see if we can make it to Kerbin's polar regions and gather scientific data from there. So turn on the SAS module. Let's turn on our fuel, please. All right, stage U for our fuel, and I think we're ready to go. Yeah, let's hit it. Liftoff is somewhat lighter, not quite as strong as before, but we still appear to be accelerating at a good rate. More than good rate. And make sure we're throttled up to the right speed. Craft is starting to wobble. And there we go. All right. The problem here is stability. Problem here is stability, and it stems from our use of winglets. So what I'm going to do, at the risk of not having the winglets all the way down at the bottom, I'm going to put them there. Move them ever so slightly up, just to keep them moving properly. The winglets, you generally want them to be at the bottom of the spacecraft. I'm hoping that it doesn't matter if they're not all the way down. So let's save that, give this another shot. Once again, SAS on, throttle up, solid fuel boosters. Hang on, there we go. Solid fuel boosters, activate. We're tipping. Why are we tipping? All right. Well, okay, last attempt before I trash this model. I'm going to put on the winglets that do not have control surfaces. That appear to be what was screwing us first time, so let's see if that helps. Keep her nice and steady. Flight is much more stable. Yeah. I'm liking this. Let's keep us at a steady increase in speed. Also, maybe don't. We kind of want to be moving in the other direction. Although I suppose the South Pole is just as good as the North. If we can achieve a landing in that region, that would be just as fine. We can sort of take this unplanned tilt in the backwards direction as a gravity turn. Traveling at around 400 meters per second is kind of the safe speed. We want to be careful, not to accelerate too fast when we're still in the thick layer of the atmosphere. Let's see how we're doing. Apoapsis is 37,000 meters as of right now. Get that there. Alright. Stage is almost out of fuel. And we have switched over to the orbital velocity meter. Our apoapsis is more than good enough now, and that's perfect because we just ran out of fuel. All right, might as well get the Terrier running. This engine should burn fuel much more economically and keep pushing us in the direction of the South Pole. I want to get there. I want to get to the South Pole. Gather all that juicy science. Accelerate a little quicker. We're slowing down. We do not want to slow down. Point us a little bit more in the direction of the horizon. Our apoapsis is more than high enough. Alright. Both of our tourists have reached their destination, which was a suborbital spaceflight. Done that. That's excellent. Now all we have to do is make sure that they return home. It would be a very bad reputation for the space program if our tourists ended up dying on their trips. So let's not do that. Let's keep ourselves pointed at the prograde vector, I guess. Use what's left of our fuel wisely, because we're not accelerating nearly as fast as I'd like. It is getting better, though. We burn a little less fuel. We have about a minute and a half of burn left. See if I can't kind of push us towards the southern vector a little more accurately. Minute 10 seconds of burn left. One minute burn left. Are we gonna make it? Are we gonna make it? I do not know if we're gonna make it. I hope we make it. This flight is still a success even if we don't. It's just, I'd like to go home with more science if possible. Keep in mind, if we didn't have the crew cabin on this ship right now, then we probably might have easily made an orbital flight too if we wanted. Not in this direction, but if we had kept along the equator. It's fine. It's perfectly fine. Almost there. 20 seconds of burn left. And the path is going to be extending quicker. Will it be extending quick enough, though, is the question. I'm going to put us dead center. 10 seconds of burn left. We're not going to make it. Pretty sure we're not going to get that far. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and 0. Yep. Well, we came close. We are going to fall much shorter than that, though, because obviously the atmosphere is going to slow us down. Still, that was we're not going to restart the mission or anything. There's no point in doing that. Turn that off, and then we might as well just eject the fuel pod and prepare for our. Oh yeah, what I wanted to do. I want to observe the materials bay. And I want to keep that experiment. This is more valuable than letting it drop. We don't have a scientist with us, so I can't reset the pod. It requires a scientist to reset it. So it'd be easier if I wasn't, carrying tourists with me. As we watch our engine drift off into the back back into the atmosphere. Let's speed up. All right, we don't need to watch this. Seen this a million times. Keep us pointed at the retrograde vector. Make sure that the heat shield takes up the brunt of the burn. And here we go. Let's hope that radiator works. Cooling. Activate radiator. Alright. It is cooling stuff. What part is that burning up? It's gonna blow. It was a science pod. Excellent. So... it's also a problem because we are now pointed in the wrong direction. And we're probably going to die. I believe that was our scientific apparatus. I also hate to say this, but we've lost both of our radial parachutes. So I'm basically relying on the power of a single parachute to stop this descent. It's not going to happen. I accidentally hit the space key there, but apparently deployment is now automatic. So that's a thing. I can turn SAS off at this point. I try to... no, aerodynamics is not letting me flip us backwards. Oh well, here's hoping. Well, it did catch us, but that is... no, you know what? That's actually not too fast at all. That is actually not too fast at all. See how far we ended up. Yeah. So our vector was pointing roughly there, right? And we ended up all the way over there. Speed us up back into the ground. You know what I'm going to do, just so you guys don't have to watch that again? I'm going to perform this launch a second time. And I'm going to do it off camera. Just to go and collect that science. Don't have history grew from the water yet. Well, we do now. Alright, do we have crew reports? We do not. Alright, what about you guys? Can you guys do crew reports? Alright, guess not. What about an EVA report? Can we take EVA? We did. Alright, that's everything. The contract is complete, at any rate. What I should have done is I should have gotten out of the pod anyway, and I should have gathered the science because then it would have survived. Would have stayed in the pod, and we would have had it with us. Yeah, you know what? I'll save you guys the trouble of having to watch me do that again. I'm gonna redo the launch, gather the science from the space, from space. Maybe complete an extra contract or two while I'm out there, and then I'll be back. Once we have the next step to do, the first game that we play in the next day. Thank you very much for watching, regardless. It was a pleasure, as always. I hope you had fun. Feel free to voice your like or dislike of this video using the multitude of tools that YouTube provides for you to do this, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.